Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Friday and Saturday series on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami. We have been studying parallelly Sanatana Shiksha and Dashamulla Tattva Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So let me summarize what we have discussed in the last few classes. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins to answer Sanatana Goswami's four essential questions. Who am I and why I'm suffering the threefold miseries? And what is sadhya and sadhana? We went into the Dashamula Tattva. What is Praman and Pramaya, the 9 Pramayas and 1 Praman, that is the Amnaya, the Vedas. So we elaborately discussed from Bhakti Aloka Nishchay article of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the first 8 Dashamula Tattvas. These are originally taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has extracted and put it in a very philosophical and a systematic way. So after discussing the 8 Dashamula Tattvas, we went back to Sanatana Shiksha, where Mahaprabhu is answering the first 2 questions. Who am I? Jivera Sarupoy, Krishnara Nityadas. And as he's explaining, what is the relationship between the Jiva and Krishna? There is Bheda, Prakash. So the Achintya Bheda, Dashamula Tattva, and the Jiva's constitution, that is the 5th Dashamula Tattva, and how Krishna possesses potencies, the Chitta Shakti, the Jiva Shakti, and the Bhairanga Shakti. The Chit, Achit, and the Jiva Shakti. So these 3 Dashamula Tattvas are answered in Mahaprabhu's reply to Sanatana Goswami. And then we went into the next two Dashamula Tattvas, 9th and 10th, Sadhya and Sadhana. Sadhana is Shuddha Bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining that right from Shraddha to Prema, the stages. And Sadhya is Preeti, Krishna Prem. So we discussed the next two Dashamula Tattvas because now Mahaprabhu is going to answer Sadhya and Sadhana. So that's why we discussed. Of course, the evidence for these will come up later on, but I found it pertinent that we discuss these two Dashamula Tattvas also. So that's why we did that. And then we again went back to Sanatana Shiksha, where Sadhya and Sadhana, Mahaprabhu is replying to Sanatana Goswami. Krishna is Sambandha, Bhakti is Abhidaya, and Prem is the Prayojan. The Shastras, help the conditioned soul to become free from Maya, where he is suffering threefold miseries. And this Maya is very, very difficult to overcome. Devi Esha Gunamayi, Mama Maya, Duratyaya, Mameva Prapadyante, Mayam Etam Tarantite. It's very difficult, but by Krishna's mercy, we can, by surrender, we can. And this Jiva, who is now caught up in Maya, cannot understand on his own or revive his Krishna consciousness. So, out of his causeless mercy, Krishna Dvaipa Wise has given us the Vedas and Puranas. And Krishna in the form of Shastra, Krishna in the form of Guru, Krishna in the form of the Chaitya Guru, gives this knowledge that Krishna is my master. Jivera Sarup hoy, Krishnara Nityadas. Krishna is my master. So this knowledge is given. And the Vedas speak about Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojan. Attaining Krishna is Sambandha, and the means to attain is Bhakti or the Abhidaya, and the ultimate goal, end, the means or the ends is Prayojan, Prem, Krishna Prem. And in order to explain this, Mahaprabhu explains through a moral story about the Sarvagya. Sees one person who is very, very poor man, who is very distressed, dukhi, and he questions him. So we started this discussion. And the Sarvagya says, why are you unhappy? Your father has left a lot of wealth. He left his body somewhere else, but he has left this wealth. And just like the Sarvagya gives knowledge of the wealth, the Vedic literatures give knowledge about Krishna. And just like the astrologer, Sarvagya, connects that person who is in distress with the wealth of the father, similarly the Shastras connect us, Krishna Sambandh, connect us to Krishna, which is our real wealth. So Krishna Sambandh. So through this moral story, we saw text 126 to 130 establish Sambandh. So here is where we finished our last discussion in the last class. So we discussed this verse. Sarvagyera vakhe mula dhana anubandha sarvashastre upadeshe Shri Krishna sambandha. By the words of the astrologer, Sarvagyera vakhe, the poor man's connection with the treasure was established. Mula dhana anubandha. Anubandha means connection. So his treasure was established. Similarly, the Vedic literature advises our real connection with Sri Krishna. Sarva Shastra Upadeshe Sri Krishna Sambandha. So we did not see this purport in the last class, which we will do now. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:26, Sri Krishna says, Vedaham samititani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani maham tu veda na kaschana. O Arjuna, as a supreme personality of Godhead, aham, I know everything. Veda aham samatitani. Everything that has happened in the past. I know everything that has happened in the past. Atitani. Atitani means in the past. All that is happening in the present. Vartamani. And all things that are yet to come. Bhavishyani cha. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. Cha bhutani mam. I know all living entities. Na tu mam, na veda, na, na mam tu veda kaschana. But nobody knows me. So this Sri Krishna Sambandha, through the Shastra only, it has been established. That's why Prabhupada is quoting the 7.26. Thus, Krishna knows the cause of the distress condition of the conditioned soul. So Prabhupada is quoting here, what does Krishna know? Our root cause of suffering. Just like in the body, the disease is there and we are suffering because of the disease. So just like a astrologer, there is a Ayurvedic doctor, Vaidya, and he knows the root cause of the body disease, and he can, give the chikitsa or medicine. Similarly, the root cause of the soul suffering here in this material world is because of his forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. So Krishna knows that root cause. He therefore descends from his original position to instruct the conditioned soul and inform him about his forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. Krishna exhibits himself in his relationships in Vrindavan and at the battle of Kurukshetra so that people will be attracted to him and will return home back to Godhead. Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the proprietor of all universes, the enjoyer of everything that be, and the friend of everyone. So Prabhupada is quoting here Bhoktaram, Yagyatapasam, Sarvaloka, Maheshwara, Suridam, Sarvabhutana. So Krishna is our real enjoyer, proprietor. He is the Sarvaloka Maheshwar, and he is the heart-to-heart friend. He's the friend of everyone. So this is the beginning of establishing our relationship with Krishna in devotional service. So this 5.29 is quoted. That's why again 5 Prabhupada. If we revive our original intimate relationship with Krishna, our distressed condition in the material world will be mitigated. Everyone is trying to adjust to the distressed conditions of material existence, but the basic problems cannot be solved unless one is in an intimate relationship with Krishna. So until we come to the point where we are very intimately related to Krishna, our distress condition is not extinguished. That's why with the practice of bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti has 6 characteristics: Kleshagni and Shubhada. So Kleshagni is, Klesha means suffering, but Klesh can also have a deeper meaning, the causes of suffering. So the causes of suffering is because of Papa and Bija and Avidya. Rupa Goswami explains this in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So out of ignorance, we commit sinful activities and the sinful reactions come and we suffer. And there are sinful desires. The propensity is there, the deep-rooted desire to commit sin. So there are sinful desires. And the root cause is avidya. So because of these 3 reasons, klesha, these are the root cause of sufferings. Not just suffering, root cause of sufferings. So by practicing bhakti, kleshagni happens. Both the prarabdha, aprarabdha, because of which we are suffering now, is destroyed by practice of Shuddha Bhakti. then the propensity to commit sin is also destroyed from the root by practicing bhakti. And ultimately, avidya is destroyed from the root by practice of pure devotional service. Of course, avidya gets destroyed at the stage of bhava. But the point here I would like to make is that in Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, kleshagni happens. And as one comes to the point of nishta, where one begins raganuga sadhana bhakti, shubhada, uh, all the qualities uh, manifest in the body of that devotee. So this mitigation of distress happens uh, more prominently there. And even if you see from the day we take up to devotional service, we see there is a mitigation of distress in one sense. But development of these divine qualities like compassion, humility, all these manifest Shubhada qualities manifest uh, in the Madhyamadikari and especially one who has reached Nishta. So that's the point I wanted to make. Now, from 130 to 139, the same moral story, fable, uh, there is the Abhideya mentioned. Now, the sambandha has been established by the astrologer with the wealth of this person who is in distress. Similarly, Shastras establish our sambandh with Krishna. That was the moral allegory which was mentioned, story, Drishtanta. So now further, what happens? पापेर धनाचे ज्ञाने धन नाहि पाए तबे सर्वज्ञ कहे तारा प्राप्ति उपाय. Although being assured of his father's treasure, Bhapera Dhanache, the poor man cannot acquire this treasure by such knowledge alone. Jnane dhanana ipaya. Oh, there is a treasure. Now, yes, now I've come to know there is a treasure, but where is it? How do I get that treasure? That is Abhideya. Krishna is Sambandha. But how I should now establish what is the means by which I can establish that relation? That is Abhideya. Tabe sarvagya kahe tara praptiru. Therefore, the astrologer had to inform him the means whereby he could actually find the treasure. Upay. So upay is means, upeya is ends. That is sadhana and sadhya. So sadhana and sadhya have upaya, upaya sadhana, and sadhya is upeya. So means and ends we can, in English we use these terms, means and ends. That is abhidheya and prayojan. एहि स्थाने आचेदन यदि दक्षिणे खुदिबे भीमरुल baruli uthibe dhan na pabe. The astrologer said, the treasure is in this place. Ehi stane achedan. But if you dig toward the southern side, dakshine kudibe, the wasps and drones will rise. Bimarula baruli. These are the wasps and the drones. And you will not get your treasure. Dhanana pabe. So he points out this is the place, but if you dig in the southern direction, then you will not get the wealth. You will only get wasps and drones. Paschime kudibe taha yaksha ek hoy, se vigna karibe dhana hatana padaya. If you dig on the western side, dakshine, paschime kudibe, there is a ghost. Taha yaksha ek hoy, who will create such a disturbance that your hands will not even touch the treasure. Say vigna karibe. You will create some disturbance or obstacles. Dhana hata na padai. You will not touch the treasure. So in the Dakshin is, in the Paschim is the western direction. Uttare khudibe ache Krishna ajagare dhana nai pabe khudite gilibe sabare. If you dig on the northern side, Uttara Khodile, Ache, there is a big black snake. Ache Krishna Ajagare. Ajagar means a big black snake. Krishna is the here. Krishna is the Varna. Varna means the color, like Rakta Pita, like that. Krishna is Shukla is white. Krishna is black. That will devour you if you attempt to dig up the treasure. Dhan na pave, khudite gileve sabhar. Now, the last direction. Purva dike tate mati alpa kudite dhanera jari padi beke tumara hatete. However, if you dig a small quantity, please remember this small quantity, alpa kudite of dirt on the eastern side, purva dike, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. Dhanara jari padi beke tumara hatete. Now, for all these four directions, that is Dakshina, Paschima, Uttar, and Purva, all the four directions, Prabhupada gives a purport. The Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, state that according to the position of the conditioned soul, there are different processes: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, the yogic process, and the Bhakti Yoga process. Karma Kanda is compared to wasps and drones that will simply bite if one takes shelter of them. Jnana-kanda, the speculative process, is simply like a ghost who creates mental disturbances. Yoga, the mystic process, is compared to a black snake that devours people by the impersonal cultivation of Kailalya. However, if one takes to Bhakti Yoga, he becomes quickly successful. So we should mark this quickly successful, because sometimes we see that we are practicing many years bhakti and no results are coming. But compared to the process of karma yoga and jnana yoga, which is a multi lifetime process, bhakti is very, very quick when it is taken, when the practice is taken very strictly and following Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. In other words, through Bhakti Yoga, one hands touch the hidden treasure without difficulty. Quickly successful without difficulty. The goal of all the revealed scriptures and Vedic injunctions is Krishna, as he himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedescha sarver ahameva vedya. The goal of revealed scriptures is to know Krishna. Since the Vedas enjoin to search out Krishna and take shelter at his lotus feet, and since no Vedic process but devotional service will enable one to do this, one has to take to devotional service. So it's only by devotional service one can attain Krishna, and the goal of Vedas is to attain Krishna. Vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto. So only by pure devotion one can, going through the Vedas, understand that Krishna is the goal of the Vedas. According to Bhagavad Gita, only the bhakti process is said to be definitive. Bhaktyamam abhi janati. Prabhupada is quoting. This is the conclusive statement of the Vedas, and one has to accept this process if one is serious in searching for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, now Prabhupada is quoting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Anuvritti Tika. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following statement. The eastern side represents devotional service to Lord Krishna. The southern side represents the process of fruitive activity, karma kanda, which ends in material gain. The western side represents Jnana Kanda, the process of mental speculation, or sometimes Siddha Kanda, the mystic yoga system. The northern side represents mystic yoga, or sometimes the speculative method. So there is, there's a slight difference between, subtle difference between karma and jnana yoga and ashtanga yoga. So they can be swapped, interchanged, the sides here mentioned. It is only the eastern side, the devotional service that enables one to attain life's real goal. On the southern side, there are fruitive activities by which one is subject to the punishment of Yamaraj. You still have to wander in the cycle of birth and death, sometimes to heavenly planets, sometimes to hellish planets, like that. When one follows the system of fruitive activity, his material desires remain prominent. Consequently, the results of this process are compared to wasp and drones. So here is the comparison. Why Karma Kanda is compared to wasp and drones? Because of the desires which are there in the heart, material desires to enjoy Swarga. The living entity is bitten by the wasps and drones of fruitive activity and thus suffers in material existence, birth after birth. One cannot become free from material desires by following this process. The propensity for material enjoyment never ends. Therefore, the cycle of birth and death continues, and the spirit soul suffers perpetually. So, by karma kanda, you just rotate in the cycle of birth and death from heaven to hell, just like the Ferris wheel, up and down. Sometimes in heaven, enjoying because of pious activities, and then when the pious activities are exhausted, you come back on earth and born in a wealthy family, you enjoy there also and commit a lot of sinful activities, then you go to hell. And from hell, you again come to earth, do some more pious activities, again go to heaven. So, like that, you are rotating in the cycle of birth and death. The mystic yoga process is compared to a black snake that devours the living entity and injects him with poison. So, that is why the mystic yoga process is compared to a black snake. The ultimate goal of the yoga system is to become one with the absolute. So this is the poison which is injected in the heart to become one with the Lord. This means finishing one's personal existence. This is what is termed as spiritual suicide. But the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has an eternal individual existence. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that the individual soul existed in the past, it is existing in the present, and will continue to exist as an individual in the future. So, which verse is Prabhupada quoting here? Anyone? Which verse is Prabhupada quoting here? Which verse from the Gita Prabhupada is quoting? Who would like to answer? Anyone would like to attempt? Which verse of the Gita is Prabhupada quoting? Virendra Yadav Prabhuji?
Prabhu, I am not able to recollect this verse.
Okay, which chapter it is there in the Gita at least? Which chapter of the Gita is this verse there? Okay, Balabhadra Kripa Prabhuji has raised his hand. Yes, Prabhuji.
Na tu ham jatunasam na te mein janadipa. I think that's Sloka Prabhuji.
Yes, correct. So, Natva evaham jatunasham natvam neme janadipa na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayam ataha param. So, right in the first instruction which Krishna gives in the Gita, he smashes Mayavad because the individual has had his individuality in the past, it is there now in the present, and his individuality continues to exist in the future also, irrespective of whether he is conditioned or liberated. But the Mayavad or the process of Gyan Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, they want to finish their individuality, extinguish their individuality. So that's why Prabhupada is quoting this verse from the Gita. Artificially trying to become one with the absolute is suicidal. One cannot annihilate his natural condition. A yaksha, a protector of riches, will not allow anyone to take away riches for enjoyment. Such a demon will simply create disturbances. In other words, a devotee will not depend on his material resources but on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give real protection. This is called Rakshishiti Vishwasa, or in the Bengali poetry of Thakur Sharnagati, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna Vishwasa Palan. This is the 6 limbs of surrender quoted in Vayu Puran and other Puranas in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. In Sharnagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes this in Bengali. The surrendered soul must accept the fact that his real protector is Krishna, not his material acquisitions. Considering all these points, devotional service to Krishna is the real treasure house for the living entity. So this is the means by which he can get the real treasure, that is devotional service to Krishna. When one comes to the platform of devotional service, he always remains opulent in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is bereft of devotional service is swallowed by the black snake of the yoga system and bitten by the vast and drones of fruitive activity, and he suffers consequent material miseries. Sometimes the living entity is misled into trying to merge into spiritual existence, thinking himself as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So both in the Gyan process and the yoga process, there is extinguishing of the individuality by merging into the existence of the Lord, trying to become one with the Lord. So this is called as Ishwar Sayuj and Brahma Sayuj. The Gyan yogis, they want to merge in the impersonal Brahman effulgence and want to become one with God. For them, the highest aspect of God is Brahman. So they want to merge in that impersonal Brahman. For the yogis, they want to merge in the body of the Lord. That is called as Ishwar Sayuj. So both are Sayuj only, but there is again categories in it. Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions. This means that when he comes to the spiritual platform, he will be disturbed and he will again return to material platform. And Prabhupada quotes this famous verse, Ye anyar vindaksha vimuktamaninas Tvaya asat bhavad avishuddha buddhaya arur kruchena param padam tataha patantyado nadrita yushmad angraya. Such people may become sannyasis, but unless they take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, they will return to the material platform to perform philanthropic activities. In this way, one's spiritual life is lost. This is to be understood as being devoured by the black snake. So Prabhupada, quoting Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, is elaborately explaining how these processes are compared to a black snake or the wasp and drones. So here in this chart, I have summarized the digging process is the Abhideya. Now, firstly, the treasure is there. It is mentioned. Now, where is it located? It's there. Now, how to dig it? Dig it from this direction, this direction, this direction, or this direction. The 4 directions where if you dig in the northern direction, there is a black snake. This is the yoga process. In the western direction, there's a ghost, the yaksha, who will devour you. And in southern direction, there is a wasp and drone, the karma kandi. You'll be bitten by them. But if you dig a little bit in the eastern direction, then you'll discover the pot of treasure, and that is compared to the process of bhakti. So by this moral story, Sambandha Nabide and even Prayojan is going to, is being established. So up till here now, any questions you have, you can raise your hands. Any questions, any clarifications? Just a second. Yeah, Abhinay has been established now. Now, 1 second. Yeah. Yes, somebody has raised his hand. Yeah, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Digging in any directions means facing, you are sitting and facing to that direction and doing your sadhana.
Pardon, come
I am
again.
not digging in any direction, east, west, north, south. What do you mean by this?
Oh, see, that is a moral story in a parable that, that is meant to convey something. So it doesn't mean literally that you're digging something. See, there is one place where the treasure is stored. Now, uh, to get that treasure, you can dig in four directions. There are general four directions. So there are four ways by which you can attain self-realization. That is, the Vedas give these processes: karma, jnana, ashtanga, and bhakti. So that's why these four directions are compared to this four paths, and the best path is the path of bhakti, by which we can attain the real treasures. So we have to keep that story to only a story, and it doesn't mean that literally now we are going to, at our back of our house, go and dig in the eastern direction where we are going to discover
No,
treasure.
I am pointing towards facing that direction. I mean, while sitting for any sadhana, are we supposed
Okay.
to face or avoid any direction specifically?
Oh, that is a part of different science, and that's not really dealt here in
Okay.
this discussion. That's not really dealt. So that general rules are given in the shastras, which even I'll have to figure out. In which direction you need to sit to take prasad, and you know that is part of the Vastu Shastra, you can say. Plus, there are general instructions, which direction, what to do. So these are general, which help us to maintain the body harmony with the universe. Of course, those who are on the transcendental position, who have transcended the modes, who are completely on the spiritual platform, it doesn't affect them. But those within the modes, definitely the effects are there. So if it helps us to practice our bhakti favorably, then we can use that. So we'll have to figure out. That's a separate science, which I'm not really well versed with. Is it okay,
Okay,
Mataji?
Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes, thank
Yeah, there was one more hand raised, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, this last line, which says that this means when he comes to the spiritual platform, he will be disturbed. This Prabhu, he will be disturbed, if you can elaborate how it is. And will again return to the material platform.
Oh, I did not go into that detail because by the process of Gyan Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, uh, uh, because they don't take shelter of the Lord, although they attain a very high platform, Anadrita Yushmadangre, because they offend the lotus feet of the Lord, uh, they they cannot maintain that position and they fall down. So they are not still Jivan Mukta. By the process of Gyan Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, if they don't offend the lotus feet of the Lord, then through that respective paths, they can attain liberation and attain, either Ishwar Sayuj or Brahma Sayuj. But this verse, which Prabhupada Ye Anya Arvindaksha he quoted, he is quoting because usually it is very, very, very difficult to situate oneself on that platform. And if you are situated also, because you have not taken complete shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, or you are offended, anadrita, that's why you are not able to maintain that position and you come down. So that is the point, and that's why Narad Muni points out this in his teaching to Vyasdev, that uh, a beautiful verse that is. I'm not able to recollect that verse. Let me see. It is there in the first canto. Let me just look into it. Uh, yes, I got it. This is a beautiful verse. Narad Muni says, Yamadibir yoga pate thamaloba hato muhu mukunda sevaya yadvad tatatmadya nashamyati. Yamadibi, by the process of self-restraint, yogapate, by the process of mystic yoga, kama loba hata muhu. So, although one can get relief from the disturbance of desire and lust, but this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul. Na shamyati, tata atmadya na shammati. Mukunda sevaya yadvat, as it is derived from devotional service to the Lord. So, although one can control the senses and body, mind, and senses by all these processes, and the soul doesn't experience satisfaction because the soul is looking for love, and artificially restraining, and only by the process of negation, there is no positive engagement of soul. That is, to make desireless, to make the soul free from desires. But the natural propensity of the soul is to desire, and to desire what? To please Krishna in pure devotional service. So that is not satisfied for the soul. So even the yogis and the gyanis experience disturbance. So that's what Prabhupada exactly means there when he is quoting this. So still there will be disturbances, and that's why even in that path, one doesn't become free. There is no satisfaction of the soul there. That's the point Prabhupada is trying to make. Okay. So any other questions? Okay, so now we saw Sambandha and Abhideya through this moral story of the Sarvagya. Now let us see the Prayojan. How the Prayojan is established. Text 136. Aiche Shastra Kare. Aisha Shastra Kahe Karma Jnana Yoga Teji Bhakte Krishna Vashaya Bhakte Tanra Bhaji. The revealed scriptures conclude, Aiche Shastra Kahe, that one should give up fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, and mystic yoga system. Karma Jnana Yoga Teji, and instead take to devotional service. Bhakte Tanra Bhaji, by which Krishna can be fully satisfied. Bhakte Krishna Vashahoy. So it is only by the process of bhakti, yenatma suprasidati. One will be satisfied, even Krishna will be satisfied. So Krishna can be only satisfied by the process of bhakti. So to prove this, Kaviraj Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quote two verses to prove this point, that only by the process of bhakti is Krishna satisfied and the soul is also satisfied. Na sadhyati mam yogo na sankyam dharma uddhava na swadhyayas tapastyago Yatha bhaktir mamorjita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna said, my dear Uddhava, neither through Ashtanga Yoga, na sadhyate mama yogo, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism, na sankyam dharma Uddhava, or the analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through the study of the Vedas, na swadhyayas, this is karma kanda, nor through austerities, tapas, tyaga, charity or acceptance of sannyas can one satisfy me as much as developing unalloyed devotional service to me. Yata bhaktir mama urjita. Mama urjita. This and the following verse are quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 14, 20, 21. The explanation of this verse is given in the Adi Leela. So I'll not go into the explanation, but this is one reference. This is the second reference Mahaprabhu is giving. Bhaktyaham ekaya rayah shraddayatma priya satam bhakti punati man nishta swapakan api sambhavat. Being very dear to the devotees and sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotional service. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya. This Bhakti Yoga system, Shraddhaya Atma Priya Satam, which gradually increases attachment for me, purifies even a human being born among dog eaters. Swapakan api sambhavat. Manishta. Therefore, that is to say, everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Punati Man Nishta. So these are the two verses to prove that it is only that by Bhakti the Lord is satisfied. Ata eva Bhakti Krishna Praptera Upaya Abhidheya Bolitara Sarva Shastra Gai. The conclusion is that devotional service is the only means for approaching the Supreme Personality of Athaiva means the conclusion. Krishna Prapter Upaya Bhakti. To attain Krishna, it is only by the process of Bhakti. This system is therefore called Abhidheya. Abhidheya Boletara, Sarva Shastra. This is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Now, Prabhupada in the purport again brings out from the Bhagavad Gita. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. So Bhaktya mam abhijanati. It's only by pure devotional service one can know me. So Prabhupada is quoting this reference for this particular verse in the CC. Oh, I have not put it in the form of points. The aim of life is to get rid of the material conditioning and enter into spiritual existence. Although the Shastras prescribe different methods for different men, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says that one ultimately must accept the part of devotional service as the assured path of spiritual advancement. Devotional service to the Lord is the only process actually confirmed by the Lord. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vrajam. Give up all other dharmas and take up to unalloyed devotional service. One must become a devotee if one wants to return home back to Godhead and become eternally blissful. Text 140. Now text 140 to 142, after Abhidheya has been established, now Prayojan. Dhana paila yache sukha bhoga phala pai, sukha bhoga haite dukha apani palai. So first the location of the treasure, it is there. Now the process of getting the treasure, digging, that is Abhidheya. And after digging, then you actually get the treasure, then you become happy. So now the Prayojan has been established in these verses. When one actually becomes rich, dhana paila ache, he naturally enjoys all kinds of opulence. Sukha bhoga phala pai. When one is actually in a happy mood, sukha bhoga haite, all distressful conditions go away by themselves. Dukha apani palai. No extraneous endeavor is needed. So, as I was mentioning in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Kleshagni and Shubhadha. Shubhadha. Shubhadha means all auspicious qualities a devotee develops. And Shubhadha, there are four categories mentioned in that. Anyone knows those four categories of Shubhadha? Four categories of Shubhadha. Anyone knows? It's important because this wealth of devotion gives us happiness, sukh. So what is that sukha? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu very nicely explains that. Anyone knows it? Raise your hands. I thought it's relevant at this point to discuss these four different types of Shubhadha, which Rupa Goswami mentions in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anyone would like to try? Four types of happiness. Anyone would like to try? Okay, so I'll just show the slide. Jagat Prinanam, affection for all jivas. Because ultimately, when one is in love with Krishna, naturally he has love for the jivas in the form of compassion to all jivas, because he understands all jivas are part and parcel of Krishna. This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita. And Sarva Jagata Anurakta. All living beings also become attracted by that devotee. He has a natural affection and attraction for all living beings. And similarly, all living beings are naturally attracted to him. Sad Gunadi Pradatvam, bestowal of all good qualities. I told you about this. And Sukha. Sukha Pradatvam is bestowal of happiness. In this, there are three categories. Vaishayakam, happiness from material things. Brahmam, happiness from Brahman realization. And Aishwaryam, happiness from Supreme Lord. So this is sometimes called as Jadanand, Brahmanand, and Sevanand or Premanand. So all three happinesses, especially, uh, Sevanand or Bhakti Anand, one devotee experiences. So this is the point what this verse is also pointing out. One naturally experiences happiness. ताचे भक्ति फले कृष्ण प्रेम उपजय प्रेम कृष्ण आस्वाद हायला भावनाश पाय. Similarly, as a result of bhakti, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens. Bhakti fale Krishna prema upajay. When one is so situated, he can taste the association of Lord Krishna. Prema Krishna aswada haila. Material existence, bhavarog, the repetition of birth and death comes to an end. Nasha pai. Daridra nasha bhavashaya. Premera falanoy. Prema sukha bhoga mukhya prayojana hoy. The goal of love of God is not to become material rich or free from material bondage. Daridra nash, or our external condition, daridrata nash, or bhavanash, becoming free from the cycle of birth and death. Premera falanai, that is not the goal. The real goal is to be situated in devotional service to the Lord and to enjoy transcendental. Prema Sukha Bhoga Mukhya Prayojan Hai. Srila Prabhupada speaks in the purport. The results of devotional service are certainly not material benefits nor liberation from material bondage. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. We don't practice bhakti so that we become free from the cycle of birth and death. We practice bhakti to please Krishna. and rest all is secondary. It comes on its own. We need not endeavor for it. If you have to ask question, please raise your hand because it disturbs the thought flow. Use only the chat box for if the audio is not working. So Prabhuji is asking question, the three subtypes of Sukh Pradhatvam. It is Jadanand, material happiness, then Brahmanand, happiness of the bliss of Brahman, and Sevanand or Premanand or Bhakti Anand it is called. The bliss of devotional service, the bliss experienced in devotional service. And Rupa Goswami further there in the Bhakti Rasamrit quotes that even if one is in Brahmanand for half the lifetime of Brahma, 50 years of Brahma, that happiness of Brahmanand cannot be compared to even a drop of Bhakti Anand. Cannot be compared to a drop of it. So that's what Rupa Goswami states. Okay. So we were here discussing how the main goal is to attain Krishna Prem and not to become free from material miseries or free from the cycle of birth. And Prabhupada is making that point immediately clear. The goal of devotional service is to be eternally situated in the loving service of the Lord and to enjoy spiritual bliss from that service. The real goal is like this point. So devotees should be very, very careful and aware about it. So if we, harbor desires that, Prabhuji, please pray for me so that I can become free from these miseries of material existence and, become free from the cycle of birth and death. So that's not a pure desire. So our desire is to please Krishna, please the Vaishnavas. That is Anya Bilashita Shunyam. One is said to be in a poverty-stricken condition when one forgets the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is real Daridrata. So in one sense, even the rich and the poor are all poor only. One has to end such a life of poverty in order to automatically end the miserable conditions of material existence. One is automatically liberated from material enjoyment when one tastes the service of Krishna. One does not have to endeavor separately for opulence. Opulence automatically comes to the pure devotee, even though he does not desire material happiness. So I told you that three kinds of happiness all come to the devotee. Now he concludes, Veda Shastra kahe sambandha abhideya prayojan Krishna Krishna Bhakti Prematinam Mahadhan. In the Vedic literatures, Veda Shastra kahe Krishna is the central point of attraction. Sambandha. And his service is our activity, Abhideya. To attain the platform of goal, platform of love of Krishna is the life's ultimate goal, Prayojan. Therefore, Krishna Sambandh, Krishna service, Bhakti Abhideya, Krishna Bhakti, and love for Krishna, Krishna Prem, are the three great riches of life. Tina Mahadan. So, through this moral story of the Sarvagya and the man in distress who had lost a treasure, where the Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan are established. So, through the story, how through the Vedas we should establish our relation with Krishna and then practice bhakti to as a means to revive that relationship and then ultimately attain prem. And this is our real dhan. This is the real treasure or richness of life. So that has been established here. Okay, any questions or clarifications here up till now? Any questions or clarifications? So the next theme is now further Mahaprabhu is going to elaborate. sadhana and sadhya is going on discussion. But now the ultimate goal of Shastras is Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan, and the highest aspect is Bhagwan. So now that systematically Mahaprabhu is going to prove it now. What is the ultimate goal of Shastras? So this we will take it up tomorrow, because it's a new theme which is going to start. So it is better that we start this new theme tomorrow. So we have one question here. Let us take up. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dandatana. Prabhu, just one clarification I wanted. When we say Vedascha Sarvair Ahamiva Vedyam, Prabhu, it is said that essence of Veda is to know Lord Krishna. Just I want to know, Prabhu, which part of Veda we refer when we say like this? Because Veda is full of Karma Kanda and other things. So just...
Actually, just like 100 rupee note or a 500 rupee note, it has a thin line there inside. Similarly, in the entire body of Vedas, actually the whole purpose of all these Vedas is to actually know that Krishna is central there. It is only meant, the Vedas only objective is to know Krishna, to establish that relationship with Krishna, Sambandha. But it is so difficult from the study of Vedas to come to this point. That's why Brahmaji is explaining Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. Only by pure devotional service we can understand that actually the Vedas are only pointing to Krishna and nothing else. To come to this conclusion, only by pure devotional service or by the mercy of a pure devotee we can understand this. So that's the point being made. The classic example is of Lord Brahma himself. He is mentioning in the Bhagavatam that he went through the Vedas 3 times. First time he felt that karma is the goal of Vedas, and second time Jnana is the goal of Vedas. The third time when he read, he came to the conclusion Atmarati, to develop loving attraction to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the real conclusion of the Vedas. So this confidential, that's why it is called as Guhya Gyan. It is Guhya Tara Gyan, Guhya Tama Gyan, sorry. So this is revealed only by the mercy of pure devotees. So that is what is being mentioned here, that the ultimate goal of the Vedas is to know Krishna. And if you are not coming to that point, and you're coming to some other conclusion, then you have not understood the Vedas, the purpose of them, and the purport and the meaning of the Vedas. I hope it is clear, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we will stop here now, and we'll start the new theme tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Kaviraj Das Goswami ki jai. Shri Sanatana Shiksha ki jai. Hare